If you're thinking about starting a podcast for your business in 2025, but you're just not sure where to start, this video is for you. We're going to take you through the step-by-step process for launching a podcast for your business. Here we go. If you don't know who I am, I'm Sarah Heater, and I am the founder and CEO of a company called Podfox Media. What we do is help more underrepresented voices leverage the power of podcasting to start, grow, and monetize a podcast and to help you grow your business. So if you want a podcast, but you want to use it as a business asset, that's what we talk about here on this channel. Today, this high-level overview is going to give you a step-by-step of what it actually takes to launch a podcast. So there's so much strategy that goes into this, and there's so many decisions to be made, and we're happy at Podfox to help you with every single one of those things. But today, we just are going to focus on how do you actually launch a podcast and what goes into that. This is a framework that you can follow to launch with confidence and clarity. So let's start with who this is for. This video is for you if you've been in business for at least 3 years, if you are already super clear on who you serve and what your offer is, and you're bringing in revenue in your business. If you're still figuring out those things, that doesn't mean that this won't give you clarity and confidence about what it will take to launch a podcast when you're ready. It just means that you have some business coaching to do first before you start seeking out actual support for your podcast. If you're running a business, you're busy, and you've got a lot of things to do, both in the business and in your personal life. So the last thing you need is another thing on your to-do list. So if what you're looking for is clarity for business coaching, you're going to want to go find that and then come back and revisit this about launching your podcast. But if that sounds like you, if you already know who you're talking to and what you're talking about, let's go ahead and talk about how you might be able to leverage a podcast for your business and what that's going to look like. Step one in this process, and this is super important for strategy, is to clarify the purpose of your podcast and who your audience is. Now, we already talked about being really clear on who your ideal audience is for your offer in your business. That's maybe a related conversation, but not necessarily the same conversation. Who's listening to your podcast? Why a podcast? And where in your sales funnel is the podcast going to sit? Is it at the top of the funnel? We're looking for lead generation. We're looking for expanding your reach to a broader audience. We want to bring new people into your world. Is it a matter of thought leadership, or is it going to sit lower in your sales funnel where the priorities are more about customer retention, repeat customers, and nurturing prospects who are already warmed up in your world? This is where a strategy call with one of our podcast strategists can really, really shine. So this is actually one of the things we do for anyone who's thinking of starting a podcast. We offer a 100% free 90-minute strategy session to talk about this kind of clarity. So if that sounds like you, the link is in the description box below. But let's keep going. Once you know what the point is of your podcast, who it's for, what they need, what are they searching for, what's the point of a podcast, why are we even doing this, then we get to move into step two. Step two is all about designing your podcast foundation. And this is going to be literally your podcast branding. So we want naming and visual branding that's going to reach your ideal customer and help you stand out. We want to make sure that your name of your podcast is positioning you well for organic traffic. We also want to think about the music and the sound design and even the format of your podcast here. Are they going to be solo episodes where you're really able to demonstrate your thought leadership, your expertise, your teaching, training, coaching? Are they going to be interview-based? Who are your guests going to be if you're going to be interviewing? What is the length and the cadence of the podcast going to look like? And how are you going to position your show? And how is this podcast different from the 4.5 million other podcasts online today? Most new podcasters skip this step and they end up thinking that they're kind of talking to the void. They don't really know what they're doing or what the point is. And when you ask them what their show's about, they'll kind of tell you, we just talk a little bit about everything. But as business owners, that's not going to help you leverage this as a business asset. Okay, step 3. Now we're going to build your content roadmap. This is where we're going to outline your first several episodes based on your business offers and FAQs that you get all the time. So you want to prep to batch your content, and that's going to help you avoid burnout. You want to have a plan based on the cadence of how often your episodes are coming out, of how many episodes do you want to prepare before your show even launches, and how are we ensuring that this content aligns with the rest of your content calendar, your launch calendar, your marketing plans, your email blasts. How is this fitting into the greater ecosystem of your marketing plan for the year? Step 4, we're going to talk about tech, tools, and production. This is what you actually need. So where does your podcast live on the internet? Where is it being hosted? Where do those files live online? And how do you get them to Apple and Spotify and all the other places where people are listening to podcasts? This is also where we're looking at what microphone you want to use and how to set it up. We're also talking about recording software. Where are you recording, and how are you connecting with guests if they're virtual or in person? So this is where you're making a lot of tech decisions. We do have a recommended tech list of technology we love and promote to our clients and to people who are in our world. And I have linked that in the description of this episode as well. We also help people with sound checks. So if you have audio equipment and you don't know how to use it, that's also something we are happy to help with at Podfox. We do have another video that is on this channel that is all about how to set up and use your Blue Yeti microphone. So that's a super common beginner podcast microphone, and if you've already purchased one, or if you know that some of your favorite podcasters use and recommend the Blue Yeti, then we want to help you use it effectively. So make sure you check out that other video. I'll go ahead and link that as well. So let's also talk about editing. What is the best use of your time and your goals? Are you going to DIY, or are you going to do done-for-you services? So there are lots of podcast editing and production teams out there now. At the time that I started this company back in 2019, I still had to explain to people what a podcast is before I could tell them I could help them with their podcast. Nowadays, though, podcasting is so much more popular, which means you can find all different kinds of editing and production and strategic support at all different price points and budgets. The bottom line is that when you're doing this as a business asset, if you already have a functioning business, it's not like you aren't going to be able to learn how to edit your own podcast. It's just a matter of, is this the best, most effective use of your time and energy? So only you can make that decision, and then you can go from there as far as figuring out what your budget is and how much support you actually want. The biggest thing is building a system for long-term sustainability. Many business owners burn out trying to do DIY production when their time is actually better spent creating and selling and coaching and serving. So if that sounds like you, that you know what your dollar amount is that you can bill for your time, then you have to assess, does it make more sense to pay somebody for that editing time? Step 5. This is the actual launch and promoting your launch to the world. So you want to choose a realistic launch date, and then you want to stick to it. Picking your launch date is going to help you stay motivated and actionable on actually making progress toward getting your podcast into the world. Then you want to build momentum with a trailer for your podcast. So just like a movie trailer, you want to share who it's for, what they can expect, and when your first episodes are going to drop. You want to have a launch email and social media plan. You want to make sure that you are updating any bios and making sure that your website is ready and that people can find your podcast and easily listen to it if they're interested, and they'll know right away whether or not it's for them or if it's something that they should spend time checking out because your messaging is on point. So start strong with 3 episodes on your launch date. That's what we recommend to everyone. Some people would recommend starting with more episodes, but I think then you're going to start to see drop off in the completion rate. Some people just start with 1 because start simple, right? But there's actually a lot of methodology to starting with 3 episodes. People know that 50% of podcasters quit before episode 11, and quite a lot only ever post one episode. So if you start with 3, you actually start establishing some credibility with regular podcast listeners. There are so many other reasons why we recommend starting with 3 episodes, but we'll do a whole other video about launch strategy. The most important thing in your launch promotion planning is to focus on visibility. You want to leverage your audience, guests, and community as much as possible. Your launch doesn't need to be huge. It just needs to be intentional. Lots of us are starting at the very beginning, and we're not going to launch to millions of people unless we already have a community of millions of people to launch to. But if we're intentional and strategic, and we tell everybody in our existing community, no matter how big or small, about that upcoming podcast, you can still get results with your podcast. So to review, the most important things in your podcast launch are clarity, strategy, consistency, and frankly, support. You don't have to do this alone. If you want a team behind you who understands how to leverage podcasting for your business, to handle the strategy, the tech, and the execution, we've got your back. You can schedule that free 90-minute session to learn more about our white glove launch services and all about podcast launch strategy and how to shape the vision for your podcast in the description box below. But it's an easy URL to remember, launchmyshow.com. If you already have a podcast, or if you know that you need to go the DIY route for now for the sake of budget, we also offer coaching and consultation services, from 6-month coaching programs all the way to 1-by-1, no ongoing purchase necessary consulting sessions with a world-leading industry expert on podcasting. If that sounds like you, check out the link in the description below or go to helpmyshow.com. And if you want more tips like this about podcasting as a business asset, make sure you hit subscribe so you get notified every time we have a new video on this channel. We believe that podcasting is a great opportunity for you to build your own platform and use your voice, because your voice matters. See you in the next one.